13 September 2022. Morning Murli, Shanti, BapDada, Madhuban. Sweet children, you're all brothers and you have to live together with spiritual love. Become bestowers of happiness and give everyone happiness. Become those who pick up virtues. Question: what is the reason for your not having spiritual love among yourselves? How can there be spiritual love? Answer: when there is body consciousness, you look at the defects of one another, and so there isn't spiritual love. When you become soul conscious and you have the concern to remove your defects, when your aim is to become Satopradhan and you become very sweet and bestower of happiness, there is then a lot of love among you. The Father Srimad is: children, don't look at anyone's defect. Have the aim of becoming virtuous and of making others virtuous. The one Father has the maximum virtues. Continue to pick up virtues from the Father. Renounce everything else and you will be able to interact with love. Shanti. You children know that the Unlimited Father is now making you Satopradhan and showing you the main way to become that. The Father sits here and teaches you, children, that you are brothers and that you should have a lot of spiritual love for one another. You truly did have that, but you no longer have it. In the incorporeal world, there is the question of love. The Unlimited Father sits here and gives you these teachings. Children, when you are saying today, tomorrow, today, tomorrow, time is passing by. Days, months, and years are passing by. The Father has explained that you were Lakshmi and Narayan. Who made you like that? The Father. How did you then come down? While you were coming down from the top, time continued to pass by. Those days have passed, those months have passed, those years have passed, and time has also passed. You know that you were Satopradhan at first. There was a lot of love among you. The Father gave these teachings to you, brothers. You brothers should have a lot of love among you. And the Father of you all. Your aim and objective is to become Satopradhan. You understand that the more you become Satopradhan from Tamapradhan, the more you will melt with happiness. We were Satopradhan. We brothers used to live with a lot of love for one another. You have now come to know from the Father that when you were deities, you used to interact with a lot of love for one another. There is a lot of praise of the deities of heaven. We were residents of that place. We then continued to come down from the first day to the present. Only a few more years remain for the completion of 5,000 years. It is in your intellects how you have continued to play your parts from the beginning. It is now in your intellects that, due to body consciousness, there isn't that love for one another. You continue to see the facts in one another. When you were soul conscious, you didn't see the facts. That one has this defect. This one is like that. You had a lot of love for one another. You now have to embed that same stage. Here, you look at one another with such a vision that you continue to fight and quarrel. The Father sits here and explains how all of that can now stop. Children, you were Satopradhan, what if worship deities? Then gradually you continue to fall down and you became Tamapradhan. You were so sweet. Now once again became just as sweet. You were bestowers of happiness. But you have now become bestowers of sorrow. In Raman's kingdom, everyone began to cause sorrow for one another and use the sword of lust. When you were Satopradhan, you didn't use the sword of lust. Those five vices are your great enemy. This world is vicious because it is Ram's kingdom. You also know what the kingdom of Ram is and what the kingdom of Ravan is. While you were saying today, tomorrow, the golden age came to an end, the silver age came to an end, the copper age came to an end, and now even the iron age is to end. While coming down, you have become Tampradhan from Satapradhan. That spiritual happiness of yours has now vanished. You now have to become Satapradhan. I have come, and so I will definitely make you Satapradhan. The father also explains, children, I come after 5000 years when it is the confluence age. I tell you, become Satapradhan once again. Consider yourselves to be souls and remember the Father. The more you remember Him, the more your defects will be removed. When you were Satapradhan deities, you had no defects. Now, how will those defects be removed? It is souls that feel peacelessness. Now check yourself inside as to why you have become peaceless. When you were brothers, there was a lot of love among you. That same Father has now come once again. He says, consider yourselves to be souls, brothers. Have a lot of love for one another. It is only because you became body conscious that you look at the defects of one another. The Father now says, now make effort to claim a high status. You know that the Father gave you your inheritance of the new world and made you full for 21 births. The Father has now come once again. Therefore, why shouldn't we follow His directions and claim our full inheritance once again? You sweetest children were so unshakable. You didn't have any difference of opinion. You never used to defame anyone. There is now some of that. All of it has to be forgotten. All of us are brothers. You have to remember the one Father. Just have the one concern of quickly becoming Satapradhan. So and so is like this. This one said this. Forget all of that. Put all of that aside. The Father says, consider yourselves to be souls. Make effort to become Satapradhan. Don't look at the defects of others. Only when you become body conscious do you look at the defects. Consider yourselves to be souls and remember the Father. When you see each other as brothers, you will only see virtues. Don't see defects. Try to inspire others to become virtuous and you will never feel sorrow. Even if some people do something wrong, you can understand that they are Rajo or Tamapradhan and that their actions would therefore definitely be accordingly. Check yourselves to see what extent you have become Satapradhan. The Father has the maximum virtues. Therefore, pick up these virtues from the Father and renounce everything else. Renounce weaknesses and imbibe virtues. The Father is making you so virtuous. He says, you children have to become like me. The Father is always the bestower of happiness. Therefore, constantly be concerned about giving everyone happiness and becoming Satapradhan. Don't listen to anything else. Don't defame anyone. There are definitely defects in each and every one. The defects are such that you don't even realize you have them. Others realize when someone has those defects. Some consider themselves to be very good, but sometimes wrong words emerge from them. Such things don't happen when you have a Satapradhan stage. Some do have weaknesses, but because of not understanding, they consider themselves to be very clever. The Father says, I am the cleverest of all. I have come to make all of you sweet. Therefore, renounce all the weaknesses you have. Feel your own pulse and check how much you love the sweetest spiritual Father. How much do you yourselves understand and how much do you explain to others? If you become body conscious, there won't be any benefit. The Father sees you have become Satopradhan from Tamopradhan many times. You now have to become Satopradhan once again. Follow Srimad and remember me. Each of you has a great burden of sin on your head. Therefore, only be concerned about removing it. People go in front of the deity idols and say, I am a sinner, because deities have the attraction of purity. This is why their praise is sung. You are full of virtues, 16 celestial degrees full. Then, when they go back home, they forget. When they go in front of the deity idols, it is as though they dislike themselves. Then, when they go back home, they no longer feel that dislike. They don't have the slightest thought about who the one is who made them. Means the deity is like that. The Father now says, children, study this study. If you want to become deities, you have to study this and follow Srimad. First of all, the Father says, you have to make yourself Satapradhan. Therefore, constantly remember me alone. You also have to imbibe divine virtues. Consider yourselves to be brothers and remember the one Father. You have to claim your inheritance from the Father. You also have this in your intellect. On the one hand, people praise him, and then because they don't know anything, they also defame him. They say that he is in the cats and dogs, and that all are a form of God. Try to remember the Father as much as possible. Although previously too, people used to remember God. That was adulterated remembrance. That was the remembrance of many. The Father now says, have unadulterated remembrance and simply remember me alone. All of those you have been remembering on the path of devotion have now become Tamapradhan. Souls are Tamapradhan, and because they are Tamapradhan, they only remember Tamapradhan beings. You now have to become Satapradhan once again. There is no devotion there that they would have to remember anyone. The Father explains, children, only be concerned about how to become Satapradhan. Knowledge is very easy. You can also explain using the badge. This is the unlimited Father, and this is the inheritance we receive from him. The Father establishes heaven. That will only take place here. The birthday of Shiv means the birthday of heaven. How where the deity is created. They became that by studying this study at this confluence age. Everything depends on studying and having remembrance. By staying on the pilgrimage of remembrance, you forget other things. The Father continues to explain, children, renounce body consciousness. Don't look at anyone's weaknesses. So and so is like this and doing that. There is no benefit in those things. It becomes a waste of time. There is a lot of effort required to become Satapradhan from Tamapradhan. There are also obstacles. There aren't such storms in studying as there are in having remembrance. You have to check yourselves to see to what extent you stay in remembrance of the Father and to what extent you love him. There should be such a love that you just cling to the Father. Brahma Baba, you are making us so sensible. You are the highest on high, and you are making us so elevated in the human world. You have to praise the Father internally in this way. Baba, you are performing wonders. You should melt with happiness. It is said, there is no nourishment like happiness, and so there is also the happiness of meeting the Father. We will become that by studying this. There should be a lot of happiness. The unlimited Father, the Supreme Father, is teaching us. Baba is so merciful. We used to listen to the versions of God previously too, but because they were false, they didn't touch our hearts. If God were in the pebbles and stones, how could he speak? You have many new things in your intellect, which are not in the intellects of anyone else. As you make further progress, your deity tree will grow. The Father says, give everyone the message to consider themselves to be souls and to remember the Father, and their sins will be absolved. You will then become the masters of the world. No other founder of a religion can say this. This is why they cannot be called messengers. Only the one Father gives the message. Constantly remember me alone, and you will become Satopradhan and come to this Satopradhan world. This is the Father's message. Write this message everywhere. Everything depends on this. For Europeans, all the knowledge is in the pictures of the cycle and the tree. Simply tell them how the history and geography of the world repeat, and they will be amazed. Amarnath Baba means the Lord of Immortality is relating the true story of immortality in order to make you to the land of immortality. That is the land of immortality. This here down below is the land of death. There is the ladder. We are now going up and then we will come down number wise. Always consider it to be Shivbaba who is telling you this. Simply continue to remember him alone and there will then be happiness. Shivbaba enters this one and teaches you children. We are a wonderful couple. Baba says to this one, you are my wife. I adopt the children through you. Then he appoints one of the children that he has adopted to look after the mothers. This Brahmaputra is the biggest river of all. You say you are the mother and father to this one. Baba himself says, while walking and moving around, I remembered the Father with a lot of happiness. No matter how far you walk while in remembrance, you will not become tired. The more remembrance you have, the more sparkle there will be. People eagerly go high up on pilgrimages with so much happiness. All of that is the wandering of the path of devotion. That too is in the play. Devotion is the night. The day is now coming for you. Acha, to the sweetest, beloved, long lost and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the mother, the father, BapDada. The spiritual father says Namaste to the spiritual children. The spiritual children says Namaste and good morning to the spiritual father. Essence for the dharana. First point, have such love for the one Father that you constantly cling to him. Day and night only praise the Father. Melt with happiness. Second point, stay in unadulterated remembrance of the one Father and become Satopradhan. Never consider yourselves to be very clever. Become as sweet as the Father. Blessing, may you become perfect and complete and experience supersensitive joy by making the foundation of your purity strong. Explanation, the foundation of Brahman life is purity. When this foundation of yours is strong, you will experience complete happiness and peace. If you have little experience of supersensitive joy and sweet silence, then your foundation of purity is definitely weak. It is not a small thing to make this vow. BapDada gives congratulations with blessings from his heart to souls who fulfill the vow of purity. In order to receive the blessing of becoming complete and perfect from this vow, put a full stop to thinking, saying, speaking, and doing anything wasteful and bring about transformation. Slogan, to remain constantly lost in the depths of one is to be someone who stays in solitude. Om Shanti